Here's a thought. You're a dead body pretending to be alive. Whether you're just testing out faith for the first time or you've been a long-time follower of Jesus, there's going to be times where you're going to feel spiritually dead on the inside. You're going to feel dry. Anyone else ever feel that way? Or is it just me? And there's also going to be moments of your life where you're going to feel like everything's going to crap. Like you're going to feel like nothing is going right, nothing is going well. It just feels like one big suckfest after another. And I feel like in the chaos of all that, we lose our focus. We lose sight of Jesus, who brought us back from the dead in the first place. And now we're pretending to be dead. But the beautiful thing about God is He actually feels compassion for us. He doesn't sit there with a faith report card saying, you suck. And even in your darkest moments, God is saying, I still love you, I'm with you. He wants to walk with you through this. He doesn't forget about you, even if you've forgotten about Him. Let's read this real quick. Hit the link in our description to follow along, or you can find the link in this little box up here. And in this passage, we're gonna see how Jesus goes to visit his friend Lazarus, who's actually died, like he's literally dead, but God hasn't forgotten Lazarus. So John chapter 11, verse 17 says this, Now when Jesus came, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary, that's Lazarus' sisters, to console them concerning their brother. So when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, but Mary remained seated in the house. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. And Jesus said to her, Your brother will rise again. And Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. And Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life, and whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? And she said to him, Yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. And here's what happens next. Mary, who is also Lazarus' sister, comes to Jesus and has a different encounter. She approaches Jesus with anger almost, and she says this, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit, and he was greatly troubled. And he said, Where have you laid him? Lord, come and see. And here's what happens. Jesus wept. In this moment of despair and total darkness, Jesus takes the time to weep. Jesus is about to raise someone from the dead, and you'd think he wouldn't have wasted his tears, but in this moment, he decides to weep with these two sisters. He takes the time to feel compassion with them and be with them in this moment. And just like Jesus does that with Martha and Mary, he wants to do that with you too in your deepest, darkest moments, or in your most tired and dried out moments. He wants to be there with you in it. He doesn't forget about you even when you forget about him. He's with you in those moments. And here's what happens. Then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb, and it was a cave, and a stone lay against it, and Jesus said, Take away the stone. And Martha, sister of the dead man, said to him, Lord, by this time there will be an odor, for he has been dead for 4 days. And Jesus said to her, Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? So they took away the stone, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you will always hear me, but I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me. And when he said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. And the man who died came out, his hands and feet bound with linen strips, and his face wrapped in a cloth. And Jesus said to him, Unbind him and let him go. Everybody has a testimony about how God's mercy and love came into their life. And you do too. So here's what I want to challenge you with. After reading this, I want to challenge you, whenever you're in your deepest, darkest moments, whatever that may look like, I want you to write down your testimony of mercy and love of God in your life. Where did God show up in a merciful way? Where did God show up in a loving way in your life? Maybe it was simply Him not forgetting you. Maybe it was Jesus dying on a cross for you. Or maybe it's just God reminding you that He loves you. Or write down your testimony. Think about that time in your deepest, darkest moments.